Have you ever been so frustrated and you just bring it online to the internet? I'm so frustrated witnessing stuff with my family. And you know what? I'm a millennial, so I'm just going to bring it here and share my business. Keep the code names, of course. We'll do that, but let's just get into it. So my aunt basically has been married to a gold digger for 20 years, at least 18 years, and I am frustrated because it is so hard to watch. And my aunt, she's the type of person that divorce is a failure. Unfortunately, she's one of those people where it's not going to ever, as long as she's still living on this earth, ever going to be a decision to divorce this man. So you just have to sit and watch. It's insane. So my aunt, let's start from the beginning. So my aunt Becky, we're gonna call her Aunt Becky, and we're gonna call the last guy who I hated, Matt. So we're gonna call him Matt, okay? So Aunt Becky, she met Matt when I was in high school. I'm 33 now, okay? And they met through a family friend. Mind you, this family friend he was on his third marriage then. So I don't get why he was the source to go to for relationships and to hook people up. Anyways, so she meets Matt, my Aunt Becky, when I'm in high school. And I just remember like, oh, Aunt Becky's dating someone finally, because she's never even dated anyone in her life. I assumed she lost her for JJ to him. That's just my opinion. I have no idea. It's none of my business. It's just my assumption because I've never seen Aunt Becky ever, like, never. Anyways, irrelevant to the story. But I just thought, okay, she really wants to be married. She's super in love with this guy. That's my opinions about it. So now we hit maybe like my junior year of high school, maybe. And I have junior achievement. And so in junior achievement, it was just like this program where we built a business and made money off of it, etc., whatever. It's an after school program taking place at a huge company building. And Matt was a security guard at this huge company building. So one day after school, I'm, going to my junior achievement after school program, and I see Matt, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm a security guard here. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, on a weekly basis, I would see Matt. There would be some days where Matt was not scheduled, and I would see, Matt's colleagues or the other security officers in the building. Now, I can't tell you how these conversations transpired because I was in high school and now I'm 33, but at some point, I was talking to a lot of the security people because I was waiting for my ride. I didn't drive then, and so I was waiting for my ride, and I would talk to one of the security guards, and he would say, oh yeah, Matt says he owns the house up the street. He has homes that he owns in New York. He owns, mansions. He owns this. This is just a part-time job because he's bored. He owns this, da, da, da. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And so the place of where the building was, my aunt lives up the road, and she bought a home up the road, $1 million home. And I say it like that because I'm trying to like diss Matt, like my aunt bought this, okay? Not to throw not to flex, but just to be like, my aunt bought that, with her own money, right? And so I completely checked. I checked out like the security guards. I'm like, no, my aunt bought that. He doesn't own that. No, he doesn't own any of that. So it was very frustrating to hear that at such a young age that he was already lying then that he owned what my aunt had bought. I mean, even in his lies, he didn't even... Why did he even have to own the car that my aunt was driving? Even in his lies, he couldn't even allow my aunt to own her own vehicle that she was driving. Insane. So get this. This happened before they were married. Before they were married. And I brought this to my mom's attention. Sorry, there's a lot going on outside. Okay, yeah. So I brought it to my mom's attention, and my mom was like, I guess I felt like my mom already knew something was off with Matt. So my mom kind of brushed it off to me and was like, don't worry about it. Like, your Aunt Becky, she's happy. So just let her be. It's fine, whatever. She's happy, right? So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, whatever. You know, I'm a part of the wedding. You know, I called him Uncle Matt for the first time, the first and last time. And that was it. And then, because I wrote a little timeline here. So then we go to Grandpa's land. So Grandpa, he died at such a very young age. Well, let me rephrase that. He didn't die at such a very young age. I was really young when he died or passed away. And I was maybe like 4 or 5. And long story short, tell me how come this man, so my grandpa owned some land in Jamaica, owns land. And this man, Matt, wanted to get the land from Grandpa, get Grandpa's land and resell it, sell his land. And I'm sitting here like, what? And so I hear that, and mind you, this is not anything I hear from his mouth, but I'm hearing talks about it amongst the family members, and they weren't really liking the conversations that Aunt Becky and Matt were having. Like, why? You've never met Grandpa, you never went to Jamaica, but yet you want to, I'm sure now they have gone to Jamaica, but at the time it was like, you just want to go to Jamaica to sell our grandpa's land? What? Make it make sense. It just came off as greedy, came off as gold digger, you know, and I wasn't really feeling it, right? So at this time, I had no idea that Matt was kind of having trouble keeping a job. Because when I met Matt, he was a security guard at that building. And then when he got with Aunt Becky, it almost appeared like he found his meal ticket. Because then he had trouble maintaining a job since. And so because I was still a kid in high school, this happened from, I just, you know, 9th to my senior year, all of the stories I'm telling you right now, that's when these events transpired, okay? So I would say, I don't know how long Aunt Becky and Matt, how long into their marriage this incident happened, but while he was on again with a job, off again with a job, they got into an argument about him working, about him paying bills, and one thing led to another where he told my Aunt Becky that, and he's white, told my Aunt Becky, you're nothing but a N-I-G-E-R. You're nothing but a N-I-G-E-R on the street. You're nothing but another N-I-G-E-R on the street. After I heard that, I said, okay, all right. And I do know my mom, I do know my uncle, I do know my family members. They got involved, and that was basically the only reason why they even gave him a second chance, because they said, this is your first and last. You know, because my Aunt Becky wants to be married, you know, wants this fantasy she's always wanted of having someone around her side, like constantly going to events with people, you know, saying that she's married, loves wearing the ring, you know, and loves to, like, you know, feel married. It's just always been her thing. And she loves it. She loves that feeling of it. And it's sad because she was willing to put up with comments like that. I was fed up with that. I was very annoyed with that. But none of my business, none of my child business. I kept it going, went to college, etc., right? Then what pissed me off was that my Aunt Becky has always wanted kids. And that was a plan. She was going to have kids when she got married. And she was told that she couldn't for whatever reason. Like, she was kind of too late in the game to have kids. I think maybe didn't have enough eggs left. But adoption. And Matt, I guess, was just, from my understanding, Matt didn't want any kids, said he, basically switched the whole conversation of having kids prior to their marriage. Definitely felt like he was game, he was in, it was up for discussion, not even up for discussion, like it was the discussion, and he knew all of those things and seemed to be just fine with all of it. And then it just switched once they got married, no kids. And so now my Aunt Becky doesn't even have that, kids. And she's not the type of person that will divorce. She's not the type of person. She's just not. And it's so, this is why I'm bringing it online, because it's so frustrating. Like, even today, if Aunt Becky just said, I want to adopt someone, she could do that. But she feels like she can never do that because she's with this man who she already made a commitment to. So that's it. And if he doesn't want any kids, that's it. And it's so sad. All of it is just really sad. It's sad that she waited. And I know people are going to feel different about this, but I personally feel like if you have the funds and the means, and not just the means, but the time to put into children, then yeah, have your kids with or without being married, with or without the man. Obviously, you can't do it without the man, but you know what I mean. Have those kids, don't wait until you feel like you found your perfect Matt, even though Matt is not the perfect Matt whatsoever, the complete opposite of that, the perfect hell, actually, but still, have your kids no matter what. I'm very lucky right now. I mean, I'm not in the fertility way lucky right now, but I'm fortunate enough to find someone. And hopefully one day we'll be able to have kids. But I'm never going to wait to find someone to have kids if I want kids. So anyways, moving on. She has no kids. Then every single time they would get into these arguments because Matt would have a job one day, and then there would always be some excuse in the book to why this man didn't have a job. I kid you not, one of the stories was when he got a job so small, like just as bagging groceries or pushing the cart. He complained that one of the cart hit his leg and injured his ankle, and that's why he couldn't work. So he quit that job. He went to another job, and I just don't even, there were so many jobs, y'all, that I don't even remember. I just remember the stupid reasons for him leaving. Like, I remember there was one job where he wanted to micromanage and they got annoyed with him, and so he claimed that he got fired. I mean, guys, there was another job where there was a mall that recently opened up in our area, and he was a security guard at the mall. And there was basically a lunatic. I don't want to call him a lunatic, but somebody mentally ill. He was so mentally ill, he was on the news. It was this huge issue. He was like, one day at this mall, this mentally ill man was like, throwing everything everywhere, going insane. And he also had a medical condition, a medical skin condition that you could catch if you were, within reach of him and he scratched you or something. I forget exactly, but he had some contagious condition, right? And so we hear on dispatch, because this is on News Channel 12 at the time this happening. It was a huge thing where everybody was hiding and this man was like throwing things at people. And of course, Matt decides to get into the way, and mind you, he's the only one that gets injured from this man because he decides, and people will say he decided to be the hero of the day. And I think he decided to be the injured of the day, the volunteered injured guy of the day. So that way he could not have to return, because after that, this man injured Matt. And after this man injured Matt, Matt ended up going to the hospital. Matt eventually went back to work. But then, because of PTSD, I'm not making fun of PTSD, but what I'm saying is that this man use that as an excuse, even if he didn't have PTSD. He would use that just to not work. And that's what happened. He eventually went back, but then he said that he couldn't work there anymore, and he had PTSD. I think he was I think because this job was very new, like the mall had just opened up, and this security guard, the whole unit was new, right? I felt like his goal was to sue, but I felt like he got cold feet because they handled the situation very well with him, that he just didn't sue or whatever. I don't know. I think he had a plan there, and the plan didn't carry out how he wanted it to, so he ended up quitting anyways. That's my opinion. Okay. So now we're hitting almost 10 years into this relationship with them, and he still doesn't have a job. It's not working. Doesn't have a job. And then they would constantly get into these arguments of, why don't you have a job, or why are you giving my money away? Like, I remember even when I was a server, they would stop by my job, they would eat, and then he would overtip me. And I would feel guilty in taking that money because I knew that he was just taking it from my aunt. There'd be these situations to where my aunt would be like, oh, I have to give him this allowance. He gets an allowance per month. And I'm like, so are you paying this man to stay married to you? That's what it always felt like. And people will say if the shoe was on the other foot, women stay home all the time. Yeah, but this man, I think from the beginning, never really loved her. He loved a free meal ticket. That's what he loved. And so now he gets an allowance. So anyways, over the years, they would constantly go back and forth and argue over that. This was just a constant thing. This man would get a job one day, quit the next for whatever reason, okay? So this man has always been trash, in my opinion. He's always, every single time we would come over for cookouts or hangouts, and I feel bad because I threw my engagement party, but every single time we would come over, or my aunt threw my engagement party, but every single time we would come over, he'd be like, yeah, I'm working here, I have a job here, and we would all know he was full of it, always. Like, we knew from day one, completely just. So anyways, now we get to the present and why I'm frustrated, okay? The present. I'm frustrated because now I have another aunt and uncle, right? My uncle, we'll call him Uncle Derek, okay? Uncle Derek married my Aunt Cheryl, okay? So Uncle Derek is my uncle only through marrying my Aunt Cheryl, but because he's been in our lives since we were babies, he's always been, Uncle Derek. We have such a very close relationship with Uncle Derek. Uncle Derek puts up with Aunt Cheryl, okay? Aunt Cheryl, our family recognizes, is not the easiest person to get along with or put up with. She has a lot of mood swings from time to time. There's a lot of things wrong with Aunt Cheryl, okay? So we we're always like, thank you, Uncle Derek, for putting up with Aunt Cheryl. That's kind of the relationship we have at this point. And unfortunately, Aunt Cheryl, she was a stay-at-home mom. And so they had 3 kids together. They have 3 kids together, and my cousins. And Uncle Derek, did the best he can. All 3 kids are in college right now. But because he had to, he carried the whole home financially, they end up unfortunately losing their home. Their home got foreclosed on. They end up losing it. It's a sad situation. And we were just all there for them just because it is such a sad situation. And I hate the fact that Uncle Derek feels like a failure, because I just feel like, yes, moments like that is a wake-up call. But at the same time, I feel like, I don't want to be like, everything happens for a reason, but I feel like moments like this is going to make it better once shit gets better. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to make it's the time to rebuild again, So it sucks that the house got broken down, but I feel like moments like this will make the rebuilding process better, if I'm making sense. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I just feel like I'm not saying it. I feel like I'm being very simple with my words, but I want to say so much more, but this is all I have right now. Okay. But anyways, okay. So my Aunt Becky, here's where Matt and Aunt Becky come in. Well, Aunt Becky renovated her whole entire home, by the way. And that was a huge debate because from my understanding, that was her home. So if Aunt Becky and Matt ever got a divorce, he would not receive anything from that home. However, if they did renovations on the home while they're still married, then now if they did get a divorce, he would be entitled to half of that home. She ended up getting renovations on the home. And the basement, and this is important why I'm explaining it, the basement part, they redid that basement like an apartment. Honestly, they can have an Airbnb down there because they have a bathroom, they have a kitchen down there, they have an exit, an entrance down there, the garage is down there too for storage, etc., right? And it was meant for my grandma when she gets older to live down there, but my grandma has her own house and says she's not going over there, right? So when Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl, they lose their home, Aunt Becky says, hey, you guys can come over here and you guys could live with us until you regroup. And I'll give you guys like a year and a half to regroup, to save. You don't have to pay for anything. Just, save up your money so you can regroup, right? And of course, guess who had a problem with it? Matt. Matt claimed he didn't have a problem with it, but he didn't want anyone to have a piece of his pie. But we thought, look, Matt, our family had come to an unspoken understanding here that Matt is an idiot. Matt is a complete idiot, and we viewed him as such. A low life. But he makes Aunt Becky happy. And we always thought when it came to at least family, he will never have a say in that. Like, you know what I mean? He would never have control over her like that. So we were like, okay, we can deal with this idiot, this loser, but he doesn't have control over her like that, Aunt Becky. Sorry, I had to change my battery. So, anyways, sorry. Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl, if you see me guessing the names, because I'm trying not to say the real people, okay? And it's so hard not to. And so they move in, right? But the reason why I mentioned that they built the apartment downstairs, that it could have been like an Airbnb, is because when Uncle Derek and Aunt Becky moved in, mind you, the three of their kids are in college. And so, yeah, those kids would be there when the kids were on break or whatever. But the house is huge, it's big enough for all of them because it's only Matt and Aunt Becky, okay? So anyways, all of a sudden Matt goes, I don't want them to go downstairs because I want to enjoy downstairs. So can they just split some rooms upstairs? And I thought that was ridiculous, but it was none of my business. But I felt that's ridiculous. If they go downstairs, they have the whole house divided and you never have to see them really if you don't want to. But he didn't want anyone in his space. And it was ridiculous because Matt at this point has hit the jackpot of his life. He could marry a woman he never had to fall in love with. And I forgot to tell you, my aunt bought her own engagement ring on top of that. And that was the talks about it because I remember at the time my mom was like asking Aunt Becky, did you buy your own engagement ring? And after knowing this man for years, we know good and well this man didn't buy it for sure. He can't even keep a job for a day. You know what I mean? This man didn't buy shit. Well, I don't know. This man can't be committed to much. So that's sad. Where was I getting at? Okay, this man has hit the jackpot, right? Matt has hit the jackpot of his life. Not only does he get to marry someone that he never loved, she gets to buy her own engagement ring just so he can bend down on one knee like she tells him to. Here you go, honey, here's the ring that you bought me. Not only that, then he gets to weaponize the fact that anytime they get into an argument that she wants to be married, so he's aware of this. But he also gets a renovation. You know what I mean? He gets this brand new big home and doesn't have to pay for it. Doesn't pay a goddamn bill. This man has never worked in almost 20 years. This man has never worked. So he has it all. And now we have Uncle Derek and we have Aunt Cheryl coming into the picture. And he, one, doesn't want to be exposed, in my opinion, for not working, but also decided he was going to make their lives already difficult by splitting them up in rooms upstairs because they couldn't get downstairs, which was absurd. Absurd. So anyways, they move in. And to me, that was already a red flag. I had told my partner, and he was like, Matt doesn't want them there because that makes no sense. It doesn't. Anyways, so Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl, they move in and problems start to happen. Matt told Uncle Derek, hey, I don't really like your toaster on the counter down here because that's where yada yada, whatever reason, right? Whatever the reason is. So then Uncle Derek brings his toaster downstairs in the apartment area. Oh no, you can't have it down there because we like to, whatever the case may be, why he can't have the toaster down there. I don't know these reasons, y'all. I just know that my Uncle Derek had to toast his own toast in his room. That's ridiculous. You move into a big spacious home with like 4 bedrooms and a whole entire apartment downstairs, another kitchen downstairs, and Uncle Derek has to toast his toaster into the room. Matt was making life as hard and difficult as he could for Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl, who he knows has a huge, all you have to do is bait Aunt Cheryl, but Aunt Cheryl made sure that she was going to be on her best behavior because she knew that it wasn't just about her anymore. If her kids come home for spring break, where are they going to go? They don't have a home. Their home got foreclosed on. You know what I mean? Like, so Aunt Cheryl was genuinely on her best behavior, and if she felt the need to go off or had a mood swing, she just drove to grandma's, which is very close by. So it was frustrating to hear that, right? And then they had a food issue, like basically college student issues. You can't have this, you can't touch that. And that was fine. They bought their own food. And all this time, even though Matt and Uncle Derek, you know, they had dinner every night with each other. Uncle Derek would cook the dinner majority of the nights because Aunt Cheryl, she's going through some medical problems where she can't stand all the time. So they would have these family dinners almost every single night, right? And then behind closed scenes, Matt would be telling Aunt Becky, they need to go. They need to go. We need to call the cops. And the reason why he would say call the cops, because I was always confused by this. Like, why are we bringing authorities into it? So dummy Matt thinks that if you call the cops could escort them out of his home. But dumb fuck doesn't realize that you can't just, if someone's living at your house of residence for 30 days or more, you can't just escort them out. Okay? You can't do that. You have to actually go to the courts. You have to actually get an eviction notice. You can't just kick them out because that's also against the law. Anyways, so he would have these conversations with, Matt would have it with Aunt Becky behind the scenes. And I knew this because Aunt Becky would be telling my mom, her sister, you know, she would be telling my mom, oh, hey, do you think you can probably have Uncle Derek and, I'm trying to remember the names I used. Sorry. Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl over for, for dinner, maybe like twice a week to give us some space. And eventually my mom ended up just blocking without Aunt Becky realizing. My mom ended up blocking her because my mom couldn't deal with the fact that this is your family. Now, I don't know about your family, guys, but we don't ever kick family out. We don't ever kick. That is like when a family is down, when someone loses their home, you do not kick them out. You make them feel as comfortable as possible. Like our family, like we are a hardworking family. So it's not one of those situations where they would have taken advantage of the situation and would have been there for 5 years, not paid. It's nothing like that. This, I mean, poor Uncle Derek feels like a failure. You know what I mean? Like, it's nothing, and he has a job. Like, it's nothing like that. They're supporting 3 kids right now in college. It is nothing like that. But that's the type of people that we are. We do not kick people when they're down. All right, so basically, Matt was telling Aunt Becky, hey, I don't want Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl to stay here anymore. I want my mom to come. Matt's father recently passed away. And I think, this is just my opinion, he wanted his mom. He saw how Uncle Derek and Cheryl was staying with them. And I think he got angry, like, why can't my mom stay here? And I believe he was trying to find any reason to kick Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl out. So, and I was told that Matt has some bipolar tendencies. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like bipolar gets used a lot. You got to be professional to diagnose people. Matt has something going on. But it's a formula with not just mental health issues. It's a formula with being a gold digger as well. And not wanting to work. Anyways, so how the story goes is what? Sunday? We are now Wednesday. Sunday. And this is where shit hits the fan. This is where I get pissed. This is where more than 11 years, almost 18 years of just frustration. I've had it. As a niece watching this. Apparently, Uncle Derek comes back to the house with some garlic bread. Apparently. And Uncle Derek, you have to understand, a lot of the times Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl would try to figure out what's for dinner, would cook for them as well. But I guess he came back with some garlic bread. It was ready to start, cooking dinner. And Matt goes, have a seat. But I guess the way how Matt was talking to Uncle Derek didn't appreciate it. Because I guess he didn't say have a seat. He was like, sit, you need to sit. You need to sit. And then I guess Uncle Derek was like, don't talk to me like that. I'm not a child. And so I guess that escalated to, you need to leave. You just need to leave. And the reason why I say this is because of the whole bipolarness. I mentioned that is because prior to this conversation, I know I'm backpedaling, but prior to this conversation, there would be incidents where out of the blue, Matt would just kind of everybody would have a great time in the kitchen and Matt would just start throwing stuff, I know I recently went over there when my Auntie Sharon came from Ohio, and he just seemed to get all upset that all of us were in the living room, that all of us were there, because it felt like, it almost as if, to me, it felt like a piece of his pie was being taken away. Like, he felt like, oh, I hope, my wife, I hope Aunt Becky doesn't pour any money into them because I need Aunt Becky financially. Like, that's what it felt like. It felt like he wasn't happy with us in his house, even though he contributed zero. So he would throw fits like this. He would throw things into the sink and then go upstairs and march and shut the door randomly. It'd just be weird stuff like that. So now we get back to the confrontation of when Matt tells Uncle Derek, you need to leave. And then Uncle Derek's like, all right, because he's already witnessed all the weird shit and he felt unwelcomed from day one. But of course, Aunt Becky kept saying, no, you could stay. So Uncle Derek, he's not a confrontational person whatsoever. He actually told my cousins, his kids, hey, treat them with respect, don't just still treat them nicely with respect. Yeah. Anyways, so with this confrontation, Uncle Derek tells Matt, okay, I'll leave. And he starts, packing up his stuff. And then Matt is like, do you want to fight? Do you want to fight? Because Uncle Derek was walking away and refused to listen to any more of what Matt was saying. I mean, Uncle Derek got the point. You don't want him to, you don't want him to stay. So why are we listening? He's packing up his stuff and he's like, and Uncle Derek left, checked into a hotel. My mom heard about the incident and immediately was like, hey, stay at our place, stay safe. You know what I mean? Like, stay. You shouldn't have to be, this is family. You are family. Like, no, stay. Uncle Derek had already checked in and paid for the night. So Uncle Derek was like, okay, the next day I'll do that, right? So then we have Aunt Cheryl. Aunt Cheryl calls my mom. And Aunt Cheryl's like, my mom's Trish. And so Aunt Cheryl calls my mom and is like, Matt kicked Derek out. Matt kicked Uncle Derek out. And my mom's like, well, where were you? Where were you? I was upstairs and I heard everything and Matt kicked, Uncle Derek out. And my mom's like, call him and tell him that he could stay. Call him and tell him. So Aunt Becky calls up Uncle Derek and say, oh, you can stay. And he's like, no, it's too late. He already, and honestly, come on. How are you going to talk to him like that? Like, and I understand why Uncle Derek was like, it's too late. Nope. By this weekend, Uncle Derek said he's going to have like a truck to get the rest of his stuff and put it into storage. So it was already too late. My mom had offered them a place to stay. And so that's where they're currently staying, right? So Uncle Derek, we hear the real story from Uncle Derek, right? This is the story that I told you from what Aunt Becky told my mother, Trish. Uncle Derek comes and he goes, no, this is the story. Now, every single thing I told you guys happened. However, Aunt Becky was sitting right there the whole time. She wasn't upstairs. She was sitting right there the whole time. But Uncle Derek says he doesn't blame Aunt Becky. Aunt Becky, he felt like Aunt Becky was a mute, that she just froze and she couldn't say anything. She just froze. But she was there the whole time. And he says he doesn't blame her. He says don't get mad at her or anything like that. No. And he believes that Matt has a mental health problem. I believe it's a mixture of both. Mental health doesn't get in the way of you lying about even owning my aunt's car before you guys are married. Like, come on. Anyways, so we were like, oh, okay. And then, of course, Matt looks like a complete idiot. So then he goes on and says, oh, Uncle Derek, he tried to fight me, which that never happened. Come on, he always tries to use like these microaggressions. Like he thinks that we're all going to go over to the house and jump him. Really? No. You know what I mean? He just loves using all these microaggressions towards us. It's absolutely absurd. So of course I go off on him, and I sent, because he has an iPhone, so I sent him a video, which I knew he saw, because then eventually our messages went from blue to green. You know what? The first time I even heard anything bad about you was honestly 9th grade, when you were telling your coworkers at the building that you worked at that you owned my aunt's house. And this was before you guys were even married. And I was like, what the fuck is my aunt getting herself into? But you know what? I was like, whatever. I'm not marrying you. So whatever, right? But to hear what you did to Uncle today is unexcusable. And honestly, I don't know why. I don't care at this point. But sometimes I question whether or not you should teach a class. I can't figure you out, whether you should teach a class on how to not work and be a lowlife, or are you just trash? I don't know at this point. But regardless, I'm done. I don't care if you apologize 1,000,001 times to everybody, including, but I'm done. So you can block me. I'm done. I want nothing to do with you. I mean, you are absolute just nothing. You're garbage, and it's disgusting what you did. Absolutely disgusting. Matt has said a lot of lies over the years, and I've only tolerated it and been silenced because either my family told me to because I was young. Even my mom told me, hey, don't say anything, but I couldn't help it. And I called him a trash. I called him a lowlife, and I just called him a loser, basically. So that was pretty much my altercation with that. And I heard he didn't take that well because he ended up like throwing things in the house. And I'm like, this is my effing house. I'm not a loser. This is my effing house. And it's like, whatever. You are a loser. Loser to the second power, And so it's frustrating because then, okay, my mom was offering Uncle Derek a place to stay, okay? So this all happens Sunday night. We're on Wednesday. And obviously we get the full story once, Uncle Derek comes to the house and everything. But Sunday night, Dave and I, we were out on Mohegan Sun. We were on date night, having fun at the casino, and we're waiting for the valet. And I receive a phone call, and of course I'm like sending it to voicemail. I'm like, I'm having fun. I'm at Mohegan, whatever. And then eventually I receive this text, and let's see. Do I still have it? I hate when my sister, she texts in caps. It's very annoying. Important, answer your phone. That's what she texted me. Important, answer your phone. So, oh gosh, I have 9% battery left. Jeesh. Anyways, she's like, important, answer your phone. So I answer it, and they're like, hey, just to let you know, we're gonna have to put all of your stuff, because even though I live here, I live with Dave, but I also have my room back home. And she's like, my mom's like, we're gonna have to throw all your stuff into a bag, in a trash bag, and you'll just have to sort through them once you get here, because Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl, they're gonna be living downstairs in your room. And I was like, oh. And then I was just livid from there. Not because of that. I don't live there. I live here. But just because of everything that transpired, everything that happened. And it just frustrates me that Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl are living now in my room, even though my aunt Becky's home could accommodate all of them. And I apologize for the slowness in names. I'm just trying not to it's so hard trying not to say their names. But it's so frustrating because I get that my aunt wants to be married. I get that means a lot to her. But the most frustrating part of it all is, okay, you could say it's probably a symbiotic relationship because my Aunt Becky is benefiting from it by having a man by her side, but look at what she lost because of that. So many people the family are upset with her. Now, obviously, a life-death situation, we're still family, so we're not gonna cut each other out like that, but it's very disappointing because we always thought, okay, Matt is an idiot, but we never thought that you would let this idiot take this much control over you. And it just is frustrating to watch. I haven't been able to really, I filmed a lot of stuff and I wanted to edit a vlog, but I felt like a story time because I haven't been able to, my mind isn't right because I'm so frustrated. My mind isn't right because he's getting away with it. He's literally should write a goddamn book on how to get away with manipulating women, how to get away with never having to work a day in your life, how to get away with being a high-class loser. And so it frustrates me that he's winning. He is winning. He got his way. I bet you his family's going to move in. And that's what's frustrating, is that he got his way. And my aunt is just sitting there like a dummy because she wants to be married. It's frustrating to watch as a niece. Frustrating. And I really don't know what the takeaway is here because I don't have I don't know what's happening next because this is real life. I don't know You know, I mean, I know my aunt's reaction to my video that I sent her husband, she's like, her reaction was even ridiculous. I'm not divorcing, her reaction was, I'm not divorcing Matt. First off, when he told you that you were nothing but another NIGER on the street and you didn't leave him then, it's pretty evident you were never divorcing the man. Let's keep it real. You know, so don't insult us. Obviously, we know you're not going to divorce him. But don't give him this power when he doesn't contribute nothing. The man contributes nothing. I can understand if he was like, okay, he contributed something to the house, a bill, a phone bill, something that she prays that he pays for, a phone bill. And no, he doesn't. So no, yeah, I understand maybe he could still probably have a say, but not in something like this where you have family that need a place to stay and you have the room. You have like the most room out of everyone in the family to accommodate them. And all because this man wants the pie all to himself, you kick your family out. So I don't know. It's just such a hard thing to watch. And I'm sure there's going to be like a lot of, yeah, like she's, you know, being manipulated and all of this. It's just hard to watch. So I'm venting to the internet. So that's all I got. I'm just, because we're still going through it. It's Wednesday. My aunt's she's not happy with us. And she said that she doesn't care if my sister and I never speak to her again, because my sister also sent her something as well. And I'm like, okay, if she feels that way, she feels that way, but it's the truth, you know? And she thought, we're 33 years old. You think you'd tell my mom, hey, this is what your daughters did? Like, that's going to change anything? I'm a grown-ass adult. If I want to tell your husband off, I'm going to tell your husband off. So, well, anyway, guys, that is my story time, because now I brought you to the current situation. If you would like an update on what's happening, I will let you know. But right as now, Matt is an asshole. I can't stand Matt. He's uninvited to the wedding. My aunt Becky should be uninvited too, if you ask me. But Matt is definitely uninvited. That loser is not coming. That's all I have. And I just hope that it shouldn't already be this hard for Uncle Derek and Aunt Cheryl, because they're already going through it, and this was the last thing they needed. So anyways, thank you, internet, for listening. I will see you soon on the next video. I just needed this story time to vent because I'm frustrated. I just want to go, ugh. But all right, guys, I'll see you soon. Bye.